Ask it.
Ask it.
Ask it.
Ask it.
Ask it.
Welcome to the Ask It podcast, a blend of spirituality, philosophy and psychology, which rather than providing answers, considers good questions.
Well, I'm so excited to speak to you. So I'm going to ask you what I ask everybody.
Sure.
But you're going to not have a problem with it because you introduce yourself all the time. So
Yeah, sure.
My initial question is, how do you introduce you?
Yeah, so Mark Bowden, expert in human behavior and body language, help people all over the world to stand out, win trust, gain credibility every time they communicate, including leaders of the G7. There.
Yes, great. So I know you must be asked these questions all the time, but can we just get a little bit of your background? What led you to do the work that you do now?
Yeah, so I started off being pretty obsessed as a kid with natural history. Like you, I come from England originally. I now live in Canada, but there was a lot of natural history TV at the time. I was a big fan of television. And also in England, in Britain, there's a lot of coast as well. So, you know, lots of seaside holidays, swimming in the sea, looking in rock pools and wondering, how does life on Earth kind of work? So I was obsessed with that. And then I was pretty good at visual art. And so I got very much into fine art and how you tell stories with pictures and how pictures manipulate and move the way we think about other people and the world and ourselves. And then I went into film and TV and theatre. Again, just manipulating pictures, but moving pictures this time. From there, went into politics and what many people would call kind of propaganda, how you use words and images to change a nation's mind or a certain demographic's mind, especially around elections. Then from there, went into business and helping Fortune 500 and companies and the CEOs lead. And yeah, and so here I am in front of you now.
Yes, fantastic. I love the way you talk about art and pictures and how they can really move us. I love that. So maybe we'll come back to that. How did you get, because I discovered you, like I suppose a lot of people, through the Behaviour Panel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, was that Scott's baby initially? Did that emerge from him?
Yeah, Scott sent out the original kind of invitation of let's four of us get together. Scott already knew Greg. I already knew Chase. I'd introduced Scott to Chase. Scott and I already knew each other. Scott had introduced me to Greg. But it wasn't until, and COVID happened and we were all in one spot, I mean, in our own homes for, I don't know, at least a year and a half or something like that. Yeah. Certainly a year before any of us were kind of back out traveling again. And so it was an opportunity to sit down each week and make this show. It wasn't until about a year and a half, maybe 2 years later, that we actually met each other for the first time, face to face, actually in the same room, you know?
Yes, it's really strange, isn't it, when you've been working with people over the screen and then you meet them in person, because as wonderful as it is to connect this way, it's not at all like actually physically being around the person, is there? And for you with body language, you know, it doesn't just all happen up here, does it? It's what's the feet doing, what are the hands doing, what's the position of the body doing, and lots of that you can't pick up across the screen.
Yeah, look, here's the thing: is that body language is only part of an intelligence system. And in some ways, if you limit the bandwidth of information that's coming in and you have models that can deal with that limited bandwidth, it doesn't mean you're any worse off. In fact, sometimes it can mean that you're better off because you're only using nonverbal communication in order to usually ask better questions or make better observations about other stuff. And just because you've got more information doesn't make you any more intelligent. Just means you have more information. Yeah. Intelligence is what you do with the information that you have. So personally, I don't mind that, look, I can only see this aspect of you. What it does is to narrow my field to mean okay, what am I going to do with the information I have in order to ask the questions or make the decisions that I make?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when I'm watching you with the rest of the guys, the feel of you is very different for me, because for starters, you take up much more space. I love the way you're so embodied. You use your body, you move forward, and the others are much more static than you. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, different cultures different people, different cultures, different trainings. And look, you know, I kind of, let's say, grew up around TV and cameras and at all kinds of ends of cameras. So here's what I know is that film and TV, which is what we're making right now, let's just say moving images, video, is a visual medium. So you've always got to be thinking, what's happening in the frame? What's happening in the frame? Is the frame animated? Because if the frame isn't animated, it's not alive and it doesn't pull focus of the audience. And the point of this is to pull focus, because if it doesn't pull focus, there's all kinds of other screens. You know, they're making Netflix, they're making, you know, Disney Channel is fantastic. And on those channels, you know, let's just take Disney Channel, one of the you know, Disney, ultimately the creator of the greatest animations that the world has ever seen. And again, animation from anima, life, the creator of the greatest life, you know, creator of life force on a screen that we've ever seen. We're in competition with that.
Yeah.
At least I see myself in competition with that. So I better make the screen animated. Else, you know, you'll go elsewhere, is my viewpoint. Now that's maybe an extreme viewpoint and it's maybe inaccurate, but that's the way I think about it. Animate the screen.
And have you always been expressive like that, using your body, or did that come from physical theatre and things like that?
No, it's technique.
Yeah.
I'm not physically, no. In look, there's me on screen, which is still me, but it's me on screen.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's me at home. Well, that would be disastrous if I was this animated all the time with everybody, because they would go, Mark, you're within, you know, arm's length of me, stop moving. It's just, I can't, like, I keep wondering if you're going to hit my eyes. It's like you keep knocking stuff over. I mean, I've got a lot of space out the sides here, so I don't knock stuff over. You know, there's nothing around here. There's nobody out here. You know, I can't actually strike you with my fingers. Okay. So what people have to understand is it's all me, just me for a certain optic. This is me for the optic of doing, you know, an interview with you, whereby people afterwards will go, well, that was really good. Like, he was really, really exciting to watch and really lively and really kept my attention. Yeah. Me in real life. Yeah. I would be ignoring all the viewers right now. At least thinking, what are you doing in my upstairs living room? I didn't invite you. I probably, you know, have pushed people out or called the police at this point, you know?
I'm a little bit disheartened with that response, because I'm a person that I wave my arms around all the time, and sometimes I actually think maybe that's a bit distracting for people, especially if I'm with my patients, etc. But I'm like you, I have to be embodied. I have to use my body to express myself.
Right. You've been to a funeral recently?
Not recently.
Yeah. Well, do you think you'd be waving your arms around at that? Okay, because you use the word all the time. I mean, it's like, I don't think that's accurate. When you say I wave my arms around all the time,
oh, that's true.
I'm thinking, no, you don't. You do at certain times. You have more propensity to do that, probably, but you're still not, you know, sociopathic in that you go, oh, it's a funeral, I'll do what the hell I like. I'm just a gesture person. I'll do whatever I like. Like, you know, you conform to some norms of general social conduct. Now, look, you know, if you went over to Japan and spent some time in Japan, for example, They might find you, and they find me a little bit odd because I gesture a bit too much out. And I have to, what I do when I go to Japan is go, okay, I know where I am right now. I can still gesture, but it has to be, I need another part of my arm to be touching my body if I'm going to be gesturing. And then I'll be within the kind of the territory that is acceptable in that area. So look, we all have our personalities and the way that we use our body, but we still make it fit in with some social norms.
Yeah. And you talk about open palm gestures.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the significance of that.
Yeah, it's just a universal gesture. It's across the planet. No tools, no weapons, nothing in my hands. You'll see people across the planet show their hands, in order to gain trust, in order to be seen as safe to be around, in order to create a sense that the environment that they're part of is low risk rather than high risk, in order to show that they're calm and assertive, because it creates a feeling in others of calm, and that calm gets projected back on the communicator. So it's, and then there's the horizontal height at which that is displayed as well. So it'll, if I show no tools, no weapons, and I show it up at head height, it's very different from me showing it up at chest height. It's very different from me showing it down at navel height. It would be very different from me showing it below my belt line. So, this is all part of a universal vocabulary that we have about where our limbs are at any one point, because that binds us together, regardless of where you're from, where I'm from, what culture you might be part of, whether you're male or female, whether you feel that you're a woman or a man or a child or a grandfather or a grandmother, we all roughly have 2 arms, 2 legs and a head in the same place. And we're all fighting gravity in the same way, and our GI tract works in pretty much the same way, and the heart works in pretty much the same way against gravity, and so our body and our mind conform to a whole bunch of those basic physicalities. Yeah.
So coming back to the work you do and the stuff you look at on the Behaviour Panel, what's the most disturbing person or experience that you've had in your work?
On the Behaviour Panel, we had one this week, which is a woman. I forget her name now, but she killed and dismembered her stepchild, who was already disabled. So it's a level of antisocial personality disorder, psychopathy, most likely, if you ascribe to those particular, buckets of personality, and some levels of psychosis as well, which when put together, give you somebody who's quite hard to handle. Yeah. I mean, I'm not handling her. I mean, this is a woman on video. I think she's probably dead now anyway. So I'm not actually handling her. But what tends to happen for a general public, and there's no issue with this, but is you tend to want to put that person in a bucket and go, okay, I know what we got here. Yeah. And so, people will comment, psychopath. And it's like, it's not that simple. It's a little more, it's so much more complex than that. There's a whole bunch of things in here which make a level of complexity. That means if you want to really get a handle on this person, you're going to have to spend some time thinking about it, and therefore you're going to be in that world, world of how does somebody function when they're going to do these kind of acts. So it's, and I don't spend, other than the Behaviour Panel, I really don't spend any time looking at that level of criminal psychology. It's not that I don't work with psychopaths, I do. Again, if you want to use those kind of, frameworks, and some of them would be violent, and some of them would not be violent. By no means would they be violent, but now and again on the behavior panel, because it's it's partly entertainment, which means in entertainment there is usually drama, and drama requires people to do things which are utterly socially unacceptable, because that's what causes the audience to go, wow, have a look at that. That one dismembered her child, took the head off and put it somewhere else. Like, that is socially unacceptable, and so that draws a crowd. So that's been an interesting one recently, where you go, wow, that's off the charts.
Yeah, I saw that, and for me it was the disparity between her eyes and the rest of her face. It was the real contrast between them, which was quite disturbing for me.
Yes, and when gestures don't happen in the right way, you do get disturbed, and that's a warning signal to go, watch out. It's not necessarily very accurate, but it's just enough warning that you might not stick around that situation, which keeps you safe if they were a predator, and safe if they were potentially going to be your best friend ever. I mean, it doesn't care about your instinct doesn't care about reality. All it cares is about your safety now, and it goes, we can be accurate tomorrow because we'll still be alive, which means you miss out on a whole bunch of really good opportunities when you use your instinct. You stay alive, okay, but in the modern world, it's more relatively easy to stay alive than it used to be.
Yes.
Chances are you if you're alive right now, you're okay for a bit.
Yeah, well, we hope so. So you've led me into something that I really wanted to ask you about, because you're talking about our instinctive nature, etc. So I would describe myself as very intuitive. And I wanted to ask you what you thought about the concept of intuition, because do you think it's just that we pick up on all these micro expressions, as you would say, and all this information that we're not aware that we're picking up on, and then we call it intuition and think that it's unusual? I suppose what I'm asking you is, do you just boil everything down to behavior and the material organism, or do you think that there is something else?
Well, look, what are the different ways that you have to input data? What are your ways of inputting data?
You mean other than hearing, seeing, stuff like that? Is that what you mean?
Well, those and anything else. What are the possibilities of data input for you? Well,
listening to words, the stereotypes, I suppose, your own frame of reference. But for me, the reason I going back to what we were earlier saying, the reason I like to be with somebody in their presence is because, for me, I don't know if this language makes sense to you, but for me, people are energetic beings, and oftentimes I won't fully remember what somebody looked like or even their name, but I remember the feel of what it's like to be with them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you take, in my mind, what you're doing is you're taking a whole heap of data, which you sensed in some way, because how else did it get into your brain? Okay. And the brain being quite a big thing, all this stuff you got up here and the spinal column, and some other sensors in your stomach and some stuff that works out which way you are turned to gravity, all of that kind of stuff. It takes a whole heap of data and it packages it into a message that you can hold for a while. Yeah, like, I like that. They're good. I like that person. Well, they are, or they aren't. I mean, you've basically created a judgment there that you're predicting the future on, and you're either going to be delighted or disappointed by your judgment. And when you're delighted by it, when you go, I thought they were going to be a good person, and they were, I'm super intuitive. Well, you get sent a message to say the world is okay. You're a good judge of the universe. Okay. Now, when have you got it wrong? Tell me about the times that you got your judgment wrong. Your intuition was inaccurate.
Yeah, occasionally, but I'd say the vast majority of the time, if I go by my felt instincts, let's put it that way, I trust them. I trust them sometimes more than what I'm cognitively, consciously thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you have trusted them in the past, and you found out that you were disappointed because you got it wrong.
Occasionally, rarely, I would say.
Yeah. So here's what we know to be true is that most of the time, because of the world that we live in nowadays, our judgments don't really matter because we're not under threat. We're not under life and death threat. Okay. So our intuition doesn't, though it's still there, like we haven't lost it. It doesn't have the life and death job that it has. And the most likely crossing the road is when it is most at. So when was the last time that your intuition said, okay, don't cross the road now, that's coming in quite fast. And then you stood at the side of the road and you went, oh God, I could have got across the road then. Because it was actually going quite slow. Well, that's your intuition biasing towards the negative for your safety. And then you found out your intuition was inaccurate.
Ooh.
Because it's biased towards the negative. But here's the thing, we forget all the millions of times a day that our intuition is inaccurate, because otherwise we would live in this world where we're going, you know what, my intuition is actually about a 50-50 gamble, but it's biased towards the negative to keep me safe. Yeah, we forget that, because who wants to live in that world? You know, we want to live in a world that says, you know what, I got this thing that can detect more. And we'll also go, I think I'm more intuitive than that person over there. We'll even rank ourselves again. No, you're not. They've got a 50-50 chance as well. Here's the people whose intuition isn't good. They're already dead. They got knocked over by a car. They're dead. They're wiped out of the gene pool. Okay. Some people's intuition is biased towards the positive. Yeah. Males between the age of, let's just say around 15 to 25. Okay. Their intuition biases towards the positive because they get a big injection daily of testosterone. It's not that females don't as well, they can do, but as a you know, I will win at the casino if I get 100 males and 100 females, yeah, and test them for testosterone. The males will have more testosterone. You'll get an individual female who's higher than every other male there, but on aggregate against the other, 99 females, it'll still average out, okay? And you'll get the odd male who has almost no testosterone, but against the other males, it'll average out. One of the things that testosterone does a whole bunch of stuff. It grows your bones, it'll create a jawline, you'll grow lots of hair, it'll make your vocal cords more flaccid, it'll do all kinds of things. One of the things that it does that most people don't recognize is it causes the brain to think there's less risk in the world. It causes your intuition to go, you know what? I think I can make it. I think that's not going that fast. Yeah, that's why if you're male between 15 to 25, you will pay more for your car insurance.
Yeah
Because we know it to be true that your brain will go, I think I can make it, and some do and some don't. Now here's the interesting thing, technology has created hospitals, and so if you don't quite make it, we'll take you to hospital and we'll put you back together again. And you'll get to reproduce now. Whereas back in the day, you'd die of sepsis, like within a day, you'd be done. You're gone, okay? So look, all of that to say, I totally understand the idea of intuition, and it is a lovely thing, but I advise people to understand that their intuition is biased towards the negative. You remember the times you were delighted because you got it right, and you forget the millions of times you got it wrong.
Okay, we're on different sides of the fence there. So
Well,
you,
tell me your side of the fence. Tell me how what I've said there is different from what you think about intuition or the way it works
well,
for you.
well, I can, but if I could just clarify with you. So for you, are we just material organisms, meat suits, and then when we die, that is it? So we're just physical. Is that how it is for you?
Well, see, what you've done with that is to go, are we just physical organisms, and use the metaphor of meat suits, which is you've taken the steak and put it way over there to go that if I don't agree with your opinion over here, I've got to be in the meat suit opinion. Here's what my opinion actually is. That we are physical beings is so extraordinary, it's good enough. Yeah, I don't need anything else. Like, this is a miracle. This is an utter, I'm talking to you right now, one entity to another, and it's an extraordinary thing on the planet. There's only 7.8 billion of us on the planet who can do this. There's so many insects out there that won't be doing any of this stuff, and they're just physical things as well. And if I were to say, hey, I'm just a physical thing, but look what I'm doing as just a physical thing, and I can work out all the biology as to why physically this can happen, and I don't need any, but there must be some other entity somewhere or some other wavelength, or no, it can be done just with physics. I'm already amazed by it. I don't need anything else to go, well, here's why it's amazing. It's already extraordinary. So if you want to say, hey, that's the meat suit hypothesis, I'm like, yeah, it's incredible. The meat suit, like, what a suit. What an incredible suit.
Yeah, of course I agree with that. It's amazing I don't like to think about it too much, actually, all the processes that are happening in the body right now, and what is it, 30 trillion cells or something is,
yeah,
of course that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's just the ones that genetically belong to us.
Yeah,
we've got other cells that are part of other systems that are integrated.
Yes.
With what we're doing. And again, I don't need there's some alien entities from it. No, they're just like stuff from the earth, like us, that have evolved in such an incredible way. And again, I don't need a god to go, that was made. No, evolution does it, and it's incredible. It's already it's already just incredible how evolution works. I mean, if you want an incredible story about how stuff works, evolution is brilliant. What a brilliant thing.
Okay, so let's move on a bit. I want to talk with you about issues of power and control.
Mm-hmm.
So you said in your intro there that you've worked with some of the leaders of the G7, you work in politics, etc. So I suppose, so you talk about influence, and I guess we all want to influence people, of course we do, and we all want to have a sense of our own personal power, but so three words, when does influence, in a way, that's manipulation, and when does that then move into control? So tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, okay, so let's look at the words. So influence comes from medieval Latin, to be in flow, to get in the river with. Yeah. So what influence says is you're going to get in the same boat with somebody. You're going to get in the same water with them. You're going to move with that river. So influence is one thing. All influence means is to get alongside something. Often the word persuasion is put alongside influence. You get influence and persuasion. Persuasion is medieval Latin, and it means to move hard. So when you're in influence with somebody, you're actually in agreement with them. You're going, okay, I get where we're going. Okay, show me what you see. Describe the river to me. How fast are we moving? How's it feeling to you in this river right now? Oh, it's feeling like that to me. I'm not going to go in confluence to them, which means, no, I don't feel like that. No, I'm going the other way. Okay, when I'm influence, I get in the river with them and I join them on that. Then there's a moment of persuasion to move them hard, which I can go, look, we could go this way or this way at this point, or this way. Let me just describe to you the 3 ways that I see, or the 2 ways, or the 5 ways, the possibilities here. Because at that point, I've got the possibility to move them hard, which means I can take them in another way. Now, could that be manipulative? Well, it's obviously going to be manipulative from the word mani, meaning hands, okay? Because I'm going to take the world and I'm going to structure it in a certain way in order that it might look a certain way and feel a certain way to people. Now, why might I need to manipulate people? Because if I don't, they'll keep on doing the same thing. And I believe that I have a better way for them that will be better for them and better for everybody. I mean, if I'm trying to structure society, I'm often thinking I have a way that is better for more people and will have more peace and prosperity if we all move in this direction. But if I don't move people, they'll keep going on in this direction. And if they go on in this direction, I worry that there will be argument and disease and war, and it'll be bad for people. Okay. So now, if I believe a certain thing, I've either got to decide to be the person that moves people or decide to be the person that just sits back and goes, you see, I told you there'd be a war. Told you, nothing I could do about it. I didn't want to do anything about it. I mean, it's not my job, is it? It's not my job. If you're going to be an idiot, you be an idiot. I'm either that person or I go, I will do whatever it takes to move people to a better position. Okay. Now, the people on that side who were quite happy with where they were, in fact, they don't like to change, and who does? They'll look at the change and go, don't do that to me. Don't be manipulative. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're manipulating me. I see what you're doing. No, we don't want to change. We don't want to change. No, we're all right, thank you. And they'll call me manipulative. Yeah. And the people who are on my side, who share the same values, beliefs as me, they'll go, well, you're doing the right thing, Mark. And I'll go, but they're calling me manipulative. And they'll go, pay no attention. Okay. So look, I will work with leaders who have a belief. They have a belief that the world could be better. Now, is their belief accurate? I don't know. We'll find out, won't we? We'll find out. We'll find out whether they create a better world or a worse world. Okay. But if they don't get the help, they don't get to succeed. We don't get to find out whether they were right or wrong. So I've got no problem with the idea of manipulative. Have zero issue with it. And in all of these cases, we have to find out whether the person who is the leader is right or wrong. And history tells us that.
But then it's all a bit too late if it's wrong, if we're relying on...
Well, what else are you going to do? Just sit there and go, well, let's do nothing? What? Or take a risk. It's a gamble, isn't it? It's life. It's a gamble.
Indeed.
It's like, do you know what's going to happen tomorrow?
What does it not matter to you then? So you say you work with people's beliefs.
Yeah.
So does it not matter to you if their worldview is not aligned with yours? Is it just a job and you can kind of divorce yourself from that? Or, yeah, what do you think?
Well, look, there are certain values that that if they take that value system, I'm unlikely to work with them. Okay, I'll go, no, that's, I absolutely don't ascribe with that value system. Yeah. But belief, I mean, that would be like me saying, well, I won't work with anybody who's Christian because they don't believe what I believe. Okay, well, that's a little bit, I don't work with anybody who believes that there might be, extraterrestrials because they don't believe. It's like, why would I do that? That's a belief system. Now, what they're going to do with that belief system, that's a different thing. That will depend on their value system, how much they think they should enforce that. Yeah, if you're going to tell me I have to believe in extraterrestrials, no, I'm not going to do that. That you do, that's fine. That's fine. That you need help convincing other people because you believe it would be a better world if everybody believed in that. Okay, I might help you with that because I don't know whether you're right or wrong. You believe you're right. I believe you're not. You have evidence for why you think it's accurate. I have evidence that says it's not accurate. Yeah. But history will tell us whether what was true. And it only tells us that if we gather enough data around it. And if you suppress people's beliefs, we never gather any more data. Like if we suppressed, Copernicus's belief originally that the earth revolved around the sun, we wouldn't have all the technology that we have right now if we just suppressed that. Originally it was a belief. He went, I think this is how it works, and then he went on to find evidence for that. If we suppress that immediately, going, well, I don't believe that, so let's stop experimenting with that stuff, as some tried to do, by the way, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in today.
Yeah, except that somebody in a position of power, a politician in a position of power, has a lot of control over a lot of people's lives. So their beliefs and their values are really important, surely.
Of course they are. No, yeah. I didn't say they weren't important. In fact, I think I was making the point that their beliefs and values are the most important thing. They're the most important thing. Yeah. So we need to be careful about, if we're talking about politicians in a democracy, we need to be careful about the people that we elect into positions of power because they have beliefs and values and often no evidence. Yeah. And they employ people like me to convince people to vote for them and put them in power based on trying to understand those beliefs and values. So I will help them communicate those beliefs and values so that the public will go, well, we've got no evidence of that, but it sounds really good. I mean, it sounds like a good idea. Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. No evidence whatsoever of it. And then there's other politicians who are a little bit amateur and they go, well, let's give the public the evidence of this. Don't do that. I mean, that'll just take too long. Like, get them to understand the beliefs and the values and get them to align with those beliefs and values so that you get into power, and then you can start to construct the world to see how accurate you were. And if you were inaccurate, the public will go, well, that doesn't work. That was nonsense. And they'll vote you out in 5 years' time, because that's how long you get. You get 5 years. I mean, in most world democracies, you get 4 to 5 years to give it a go. Okay, that's all.
Okay, so if we move from manipulating into coercion, control, and propaganda. So, let's not be naive. Propaganda has always been used on whatever side of the fence you happen to be on. Yeah. So I suppose following on from what we've just been talking about, where do you sit with that? Because it's not necessarily a good thing, is it? Because basically you're lying, you're manipulating statistics, or you're manipulating facts, or you're only showing a certain part of the picture to use as propaganda to achieve your aim, to achieve your end goal.
Yeah. But that's all communication does that. All communication only shows you part of the story. Yeah, like you're not showing me all of your background right now. You're showing me what you want to show me. Okay, so we could basically say, look, this is propaganda for your podcast because you're not showing me the full picture. Then you might go, yeah, but if I show you the full picture, like how am I gonna influence and persuade you to think what I'd like you to think? Well, everybody else is doing just the same stuff. So again, you have to go back to the belief structure. Everybody uses it. If the propaganda fits your beliefs and values, you probably won't see it as propaganda. You'll probably see it as truth. If it doesn't fit your values and beliefs, you'll go, that's evil propaganda. And they're trying to manipulate me. And yeah, they are. They're absolutely trying to do that. So again, I have no problem with propaganda because it's simply a tool. That's all it is. What you do with the tool is a whole different thing. So look, you get a hammer, you can knock in a nail and hang somebody's coat up as they walk in the door, or you can hit them over the head with it as they walk in the door. It's still just a hammer. You gotta use it. It's like, what's your intention with that tool? Let's be sure not to malign the tool, and let's be sure to focus on the user of the tool, because the user of the tool is the most important thing. Propaganda is out there. The deciding what you show and what you don't show, that's just a human thing. That's just choice. Propaganda is a set of choices.
Yeah. Oh, so you preempted me, because I was going to say to you, it's one thing to choose how much I show you.
Yes.
Which is what you're saying. But it's another thing to deliberately lie or feed you the false information in order to reach my end goal. Because surely that there's a difference between those two things.
Well, yeah, but to what end? To what end? It's again, don't worry about the tool. Worry about the user of the tool. Because if we're talking about, withholding information from me, you're withholding information from me right now about your background, where you actually are in the world. Well, are you doing that for negative reasons or positive reasons? My assumption is you're doing it for some positive reasons, either, so that we can focus on you and focus on this conversation, and some positive reasons of, look, I can have my podcast, logo in the background, and everybody will, that will, and look how many times you're showing me that, so my brain just gets filled with that idea. Well, but you're doing it to the exclusion of everything else. But I understand the intent. You're not doing it for bad intentions. You're trying to get the best for you and the best for other people right now. Now, if you were doing it to get the worst for me and the absolute best for you, then I might question you. But should I question the tool? No. The only tool you're using is decision making. Like the moment we take decision making, you can't make decisions about what you show. It's like, well, what a world. What a world where I can't make a decision because I would withhold or deliver strict amounts of information. So look, again, I got no problem with propaganda. I only have a problem with the intentions of the people using it.
Okay, so when I say the word truth to you, what does that conjure up for you? What we're talking about when we talk about truth?
Well, I think there are many definitions of it, and usually when somebody talks to me about the idea of truth, I'll think of the many definitions around that, because, and often, if they ask me, if they say, well, what's the truth of this for you? I might ask them what they think, what their definition of truth is, so I can give them an answer based on their definition. Yeah. But for me, there's lots of definitions. That for some definition that some people use is what I would just call, accurate information. They think truth is accurate information. Some people think truth is a singular thing held by one person, that is not universal. Some people think truth is a universal thing, but outside of accuracy of data. So they can go, well, there is, so some people go, look, the truth is this is my hand, okay, because I have observable, accurate data around that. You know, some people will go, my truth is. Some people will go, our truth is, or the truth, but what they're talking about is one that's held by just one society. And so they come into conflict with another society's truth. But, you know, if I were to pick three kind of buckets, I would say those are the simplest kind of buckets of truth, which is there's the idea of one which is observable data. There's an idea of one which is what you think yourself, and there's the idea of one which is what we all think.
Yeah. Do you see, are you cynical in a way about human beings? Do you think we're all trying to manipulate each other, and we're all, because ultimately it's about survival? Because in contrast to that, Jordan Peterson talks about amenable people. And I like to think, well, I think that I am mostly an amenable person, but he says it's not necessarily a good thing. So I've thrown about three different questions.
Well, nothing on its own tends to be a good thing. Like salt is fantastic on food, but on its own, it's not good at all. So like most of stuff, balance is a useful thing. And so is being amenable a good thing? Not if the Nazis are calling and saying, hey, join in on, I'm amenable. Yeah, whatever you fancy. Yeah, no. It's like the moment you go into, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? It's like, no, life's a little more complex than that. There's no bad or good. There's just results that you wanted or didn't want. There's just results that people like or people dislike. Yeah. So being amenable can be wholly devastating for a whole group of people. Okay. But okay for you. It's like, I was just being amenable. Yeah, but you wiped out a whole race over there. Yeah, that's just being amenable to these people over here. You didn't think about them over there. Oh gosh, yes, I should have got the balance of being amenable to them and thinking about those people over there. But I was so busy being amenable, I didn't realize there were a whole bunch of people over there that would get destroyed. So you know, the key to being a more incredible human being is being able to take in more data, have really good models around how the universe works, yeah, and a bigger palette of possible decisions so that you can make better decisions about yourself and other people. And then there's the power to be able to action those decisions. That's a whole different thing as well, because sure, you've got great ideas, you've got great intelligence, you've got a lot of data, you've got zero power. Like, you know the best thing to do, but you're going, there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah. So look, yeah, I would agree with, you know, if that's what Peterson has said, I would agree with him in that being just amenable may not be helpful. You got to be a lot of things.
So again, the other part of my question, do you see us as ultimately competitive and in competition with each other, and, you know, quite animalistic in that way? How do you see your fellow human beings?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, because we've got a social mammalian brain, which is absolutely designed to cooperate. We've got a part of our brain which is simply designed to be as cooperative as it possibly can. Now, not cooperative with everybody, cooperative with the group that hold the same values, beliefs, rituals, customs, goals, concerns, and signals. It has a part of it which is designed to pick up on similarities on that, because it understands there is a limited resource and a limited time. And so it can't just pick, you know, everybody of the 7.6 6 billion and go, I'll cooperate with you, because it only has so much resource. So it has to pick who to cooperate with, because there's a part of it as well that's going, well, I need to survive as well. I best survive by cooperating, but is that cooperating with everybody? No, I need to pick exactly who to cooperate with so that there is the most chance of the cooperation being successful, which means don't cooperate necessarily immediately with people who don't hold the same values, beliefs, rituals, customs, goals, concerns, and signals, because you'll quickly argue. You'll quickly go, what should we do with this apple? Well, I think feed it to the pigs. Well, hang on, no. I mean, we don't keep pigs. We don't like pigs. So no, but hang on. If you feed it to the pigs, you see, you get meat, and then, based with the other kind of fats and proteins we're putting together, we'll get piglets, and it's like it's exponential what happens. It's like, no, we just don't like them. Like, oh no, this cooperation is going really badly because we got a whole pig society over here and a not pig society over here. And now, so which one am I going to pick? I got an apple, and I want to cooperate with somebody in order to get the most value out of that limited resource. Yeah, what am I gonna do? So I cooperate. I look out. I use all kinds of things, including body language, non-verbal signals, to go, who do I bet will be the most cooperative?
Yeah. What excites you, interests you, motivates you the most in your work?
Just people, because people are extraordinary. There's such a lot going on. There's such, there's nothing on the planet like people. Just nothing, absolutely nothing comes up to our, I mean, people are monkeys, they're pretty good. No, they're not. I mean, they're monkeys. It's like, they're never going to play Chopin. As hard as they try, they're not going to play Chopin. Yeah. Every year it's like the monkeys are like, hang on, there's a leopard down there. It's like they haven't even invented a calendar, to go, by the way, boys and girls, let me just show you the calendar. What we've put into that is when the leopards appear. Every year, same time, so don't be surprised. Be ready. Be ready for that. We're not going to send out a signal. Every year they send out the signal. Flip it out. Leopards, didn't expect that. It's like the alarm goes off. It's kind of ridiculous. Now, and look, it's not that we don't, have our own version of the leopards where, there's stuff that happens to us where we go, why didn't we remember that always happens? It's like pandemics every 100 years. It's like, and you got a few people out there going, there's one coming. It happens every 100 years. I mean, we've seen it in the calendar, and we're like, no, it doesn't, because it's not within our gestalt of timeline, so our radar isn't on for it. So it's not like we don't have our own version of the leopard, but we are extraordinary. People think dolphins and whales are great, and they are extraordinary in their own way, but they don't have conversations like we do. They don't talk about their own language. The whales don't get together and go, you know what, I've been thinking about our language and it's an interesting thing, isn't it? They just don't do that. Whereas we do. I mean, not all of us, but I do. I'll sit around with people going, language, it's an interesting thing. I've been reading a few books and having to think about it,
Yeah.
We're human beings, we're amazing.
Is there, you may not want to answer this, but is there anybody that you've seen that you would like to work with that you think, there's probably loads, but you think, oh yeah, I could do a better job than whoever's working with that person?
Look, there's a lot of people who are good at what they do. So ultimately, if they're not getting a great result, sometimes it's not about them, sometimes it's about the client, and you can only do so much. I'm always happy with who comes to me, and if they go to other people, great, good luck. I have a certain amount of resilience in my own abilities that go, you would have been better coming to me, but do what you like. It's a long life and a small street. So we'll probably meet at some point, and you'll go, I should have worked with you in the beginning, Mark, but here I am now. So I don't really mind. I don't really mind.
And so if you have somebody that's really maybe lacking confidence, and so I get that you can teach them how to stand and how to use their body. And do you think that, so for instance, if we're like this, that's going to generate a certain feeling in the body, and if we're like this, that generates a completely different feeling. So
True.
do you think that you can use the body to feel more confident? Because loads of people have an issue with any form of public speaking, for instance, don't they?
Yeah.
And however much you think you might be prepared, and I speak from experience, when you're in that position, it's so visceral what's going on. So what's your view on that?
My view on that is look, even in your description of that, you have perfectly described the real problem here, which is you will prepare and then you'll hit the field. Yeah. And the field will be so different from the place that you prepared that you will get surprised.
Yeah.
And even though, like, you can imagine, you could probably, if I say, hey, picture that audience right now, you're there in the theater of your mind going, okay, I see what it's like. And yet when you walk on in front of that audience, your brain and body's going to go, oh no, it's actually real. So this is the kind of conversation that I have with a client, which is to say, we know this is going to happen now, and we're going to prepare for the moment when you get like that monkey that suddenly goes, leopards. It's like, we knew it was going to happen. Come on. Yeah. Okay. So having the techniques are simple. Okay, the technique, because they have to be. So the embodied techniques are simple. The trickier thing is letting you know that it's going to be a surprise, and we're going to prepare for the surprise way ahead of time. When you wake up that morning, we're going to go, you know what? It's going to surprise me. I'm going to be that chimp going, oh no, I didn't think it was going to look like that. We know it's going to look like that. I didn't think it was going to feel like that. We know it's going to feel like that. What are we going to do about that moment? And we're going to invite that moment instead of pushing away that, oh, don't be silly. It's so, they're not out to get me. Don't be stupid. No, we're going to go, yeah, thank you very much for warning me about this. I know moment is going to come. That's my instinct. That's my intuition trying to save my life in a place that I don't need my life saving. So Thanks very much, intuition, but you're not helpful to me right now. We're not in a situation like that right now. Thanks very much. Stand back, stand aside. You're okay. I'll ask for you back in a moment, but I'm just going to go on and do my job. Yeah. We prepare for that moment.
So a part of what you said there is when we feel uncomfortable like that, everything in us wants to get away from and push away from. And really what you're saying is, no, you've got to invite it in. You've got to acknowledge it. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. You've got to bring the threat in, because that's what makes you the leader. If you walk on and you speak publicly in front of a large group of people, you have by default made yourself the leader, and they've caused you to be the leader. You've taken that role. That role is not a role that every human being on the planet takes. Yeah, you've done something extraordinary. Expect an extraordinary feeling, because you've stepped out. You've put yourself at risk. You're about to open your mouth and potentially offend people. Okay, because the moment you open your mouth, you run the risk of offense. The moment you open your mouth, you start controlling the world. Yeah, you start calling things that they're not. Yeah, you start using metaphor. It's like you just made something that it is not. What is your propaganda? What are you trying to control? Why are you trying to control those people? A whole bunch of people will be offended about that. Like, that's huge risk. So you got to be ready for that moment as whether you like it or not, you just became the leader. You're in a risky situation right now.
Are you? I bet you've been asked this 1,000 times. Are you ever off duty? Because you can't not know what you know, and you can't not see what you see.
Yeah, of course I am, because the duty is an effort.
Yeah.
No, it's not there's nothing innate about what I'm doing. I learned all of it. I learned all of it from other people, from, I studied and I put it in the field and I experienced, and none of it any supernatural entity gave me. I was born the same as most other people out there. It's just I got fascinated in an area. I chose that area. I studied and studied and studied and learned and learned and learned and put it into practice and put it in and created my own models. And so created ideas about how the universe works. Yeah. And I have to apply those all the time. And so people ask me at parties, I bet you're monitoring me. And it's like, no, why would I do that? Like, that would be like a doctor trying to diagnose people all the time. It's like, how annoying for them and everybody else. It's like, this is not an innate skill to do this, to work with nonverbal communication, though we have it innately, to do it at the level that I'm doing it, which is one of analysis and being able to help people be better at it. There's nothing innate about that. Nothing. It's all learned behavior, all technique.
Yeah. But similarly, as a psychotherapist, I'm not constantly analysing people, because, as you say, it's an active process. It takes energy. However, you are more oriented towards and more sensitive to and more alert to the things that you study naturally, aren't you? So you will.
I wouldn't say naturally. I would say because it depends what you think is a first nature, a second nature, a third nature, like what, that my studies and my techniques and my tools might have become more ingrained than most other people. Yeah, absolutely. But they still take cognitive resource. I mean, real cognitive resource, because in order to cognitively think about things, I'm using my frontal lobes, which take a third of every breath that I'm taking, which means oxygen can't be used for other stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'll need to sit and think about it. I'll usually need to write stuff down and be able to start to put the scripts that I put together and link them up in some way. I'm using a whole bunch of intelligent ways to maneuver and manipulate information to get closer to the truth of what may be happening, and then ask really smart questions so that the subject will tell me the truth of what's going on in their head. Yeah. And then I can put the two things together and go, there's this reality out here and there's this reality going on in your head. What are we going to do about that? Because either the things don't match and therefore that's why you're not. Well, also, like, most of my work is about people not getting what they want.
Yeah.
And helping them get that. So it's like, if I'm there at a cocktail party talking with people, in order to do the work that I do best, I'd have to go, so why did you come here? What are you lacking? Like, what a question to kick off. It's like, I was just hoping for a bit of society, It's like, nothing on in Netflix right now, though it's pretty good, Anyway, yes, to your point, absolutely. There are people out there who go, oh no, you can't turn this stuff off. Well, no, you can't turn your instinct off, but I already had that in the first place. My instinct is no better than anybody else's. My cognitive reasoning about the data that I get in, it's a lot better than most other people who have not looked at this area like I've looked at it.
So when you want to be economical with the truth, shall we say?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, because of your skill set, that you're able to be much more of a salesman maybe than somebody else.
Well, I don't know. So you've just conflated sales with being economical with the truth. Okay,
if you want to push a narrative that's maybe not wholly truthful, let's put it that way.
So which truth are you talking about? Define truth.
When you want to lie for whatever reason, when I want to lie, I'm assuming because of your skill set, you know how to sell your lie maybe better than I might know how to sell my lie.
Yeah, it depends on the stress around it. I mean, depends on, yes, but I'm still human. So I'm still going to have some stresses and pressures around that. So it depends on the stakes. If the stakes are really high, I could be really good. Yeah. If the stakes are really low, I might be really good or it might be really bad. I mean, depends on the stake. You know, what is the stakes? If the stakes are in the middle somewhere, you know, because it depends on the effort. It's like a magic trick, you know? It's like some magic tricks. It's like, how did they do that? It's like, well, they went to so much more effort than any human being you could possibly imagine to make that, you know. And why? Because the stakes are high. It's a special. It's like a special going out to millions of people worldwide. The amount of money they'll put into that lie is just extraordinary. Of course, it looks like the Statue of Liberty really disappeared because they spent so much money on it, because billions of people will watch this thing. I mean, what wouldn't you do? What wouldn't you do to make that work?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, would you absolutely, it's like those magic tricks where they go, those magic specials where they go, you know, they say it right at the start. You know, we're using no actors in this. Well, of course you are. That's why you told us, like, you're lying straight up. You know, you're obviously lying right from moment one. So I go, okay, well, yeah, no actors. These are all real actors, lots of them, lots of actors going on there. Well, you're lying to me. Why? Well, because it's super entertaining if you buy the lie. I mean, it's better, you know, it's better to buy the lie sometimes because it's just such a better world if you live in that world of the lie.
Yeah. And one of the things that was said on the behaviour panel is, I think Greg said, people say, oh, you're teaching us to lie, you're teaching us to lie. And he was saying, well, yeah, but you've got all these techniques, but the minute you get into that stressful situation of being with the police or being interrogated, all of that which you think you know will go out of the window because of the impact of the visceral experience and the stress of it.
Yeah, totally. Which is why if I were ever well, I would never get myself into that position. Like, you would have to arrest me, which means you already have enough evidence. So, you know, the amount of people who are there, you know, in the interrogation room, and they don't have to be. It's like, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? Like, they have so much control over this situation that you just shouldn't be there, whether you're, you know, guilty or especially if you're innocent. Yes, you should not be in that room right now. Yeah, if somebody came to my home and went, look, you know, we'd like you to come in and talk about this murder, you know, this missing person or whatever, I'd be like, no, you do your job and go and find the person who's done this. Yeah, be on your way. And I would shut the door. That would be that, because I didn't do it. So I don't need to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no information about any of this stuff. I don't even know who they're talking about. Yeah. Or I'd have done it and I'd be still like, okay, bye. Don't get involved.
Yeah.
Is my advice.
Okay. So, what are your latest projects? What are you moving towards? What's lined up for you in the future? Anything you want to share?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, look, if you like this, if you're interested in what you've been hearing about, you'll find everything that I'm doing at truthplane.com, TRUTHPLANE, truthplane.com. Go there and you'll get links to all kinds of training that I give and keynotes that I might be giving. Or I don't do a lot of public work, to be honest. So maybe your organization will get me in to do a keynote, and there I will be in front of you. And otherwise, you know, get yourselves to the Behaviour Panel on YouTube.
Yes, definitely. It's really, really good. I thoroughly recommend it. Well, thank you so much for today, Mark. Thank you for giving
My
your
pleasure.
time. You've been so generous, and yeah, great stuff. I've learnt a lot. Thank you.
Well, it's been a lovely interview. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, see you later.
Bye now.
Bye.
Hi everyone, if you like asking questions like me, please like and subscribe. Thank you.